All right, welcome back to WMMA Now with your host Chuck Stevenson, coming at you with a special full event preview. We're going to Saturday, October 31st, Halloween. We're going to New Pier Hall in Tokyo, Japan for Deep Jewels number 30. It's the 30th event of Deep Jewels. It's going to have 8 fights in total, 1 semi-pro or amateur bout, and then 7 professional fights. Now, only one of these bouts is going to be 3 full 5-minute rounds. Every other fight is going to be 2 5-minute rounds, and then the semi-pro bout is only 2 3-minute rounds. Yes, 2 3-minute rounds. A very short fight there. But let's go ahead and get started. Okay, first up, I don't have a weight class available, but in the semi-pro bout we have Shoko Fujita taking on Kate Lotus. Now I'm not going to go into this one because, it's not a pro bout, but I will say that it seems like the Japanese media has picked up on Kate Lotus, mostly due to, how should we say, she's aesthetically easy on the eyes. She's pretty darn good looking. So that's really all I have to say about that one. Next up, we go to a 58 kilogram bout. Mikiko Shimizu, who they are billing as Miko Nirvana, taking on Yurina Horaguchi. Now, both of these fighters are making their debuts as well. I don't have any stats available for Yurina Horaguchi. Looks like she's 2-0 as an amateur. Last fought a year ago. Looks like Miko Nirvana is 3-0 as an amateur, having last fought a year and 4 months ago in Deep Jewels amateurs. Like I said, no stats for Yurina available. Looks like Miko Nirvana is 27 years old and stands 5 feet 4 inches, 163 centimeters tall. Obviously, I'm not going to make a pick here. I just don't know anything about them. Next up, at a 49 kilogram bout, which in Ryzen would be like super atom weight. They just label it as 49 kilograms here. We have Aya Murakami taking on Mori Suda. Now, Murakami coming in as a fairly late notice replacement, like about a week and a half. Excuse me. Like about a week and a half out, taking on the teenager Mori Suda. Now, both fighters are making their pro debut. Looks like Suda has 1 amateur bout 2.5 months ago. Murakami has 1 amateur bout as well that I believe is a loss. Suda's was a win. Don't really have anything else on Murakami. Now, she is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and I believe she competed on one of the quintet fight nights. I think that was last year. Suda is 16 years old, and Topology lists her as 5 feet 2 inches, 157 centimeters tall. Like a lot of Deep Jewels fights anymore, I just don't have a lot available on these two. It is interesting, though, that another teenager out of Asia making her pro debut. And the 4th fighter under the age of 18 to have a fight in the last 2 weeks. So that's another interesting note on that one. Next up, we're going to a 54.5 kilogram catch weight. Mika Arai, also known as Arami, taking on Seika Izawa. So Arami is coming in 5-3. She just picked up a loss after having, just picked up a win after having lost 3 straight. She is 26 years old and stands 5 feet 3 inches, 160 centimeters tall. Now, Izawa is making her pro debut, and I have, no info available for her. Okay, this one is what you call a gimme fight. Arami went from fighting at 115 pounds against Jiyeon Sa a year ago in Korea, and then moved all the way up to bantamweight to take on Shizuka Sugiyama 3 months ago for Deep Jewels. Started at atomweight, moved up to strawweight, then moved all the way up to bantamweight, and took what was everybody knew was going to be a loss for her. She came back. She took like a flyweight fight against Kuriyama 2 months ago for at Deep, so they gave her like a slightly easier fight there. And now this is basically like a, hey, thank you for throwing us a bone, and thanks for taking one for the team and fighting Sugiyama. So here's what should be a gimme fight for her. Arami's a decent enough wrestler. No reason she should be losing to a debutante, so we're going to go with Arami on this one. Next up, we have a microweight fight, 97 pounds. Momoko Yamazaki taking on Sae Kokuo. Let's see here. Oh, sorry about that. Yamazaki coming in 1-2. Kokuo coming in 0-4. Yamazaki is the elder fighter by 4 years, 28 to Kokuo's 24 years. They are both the same height, 4 feet 11 inches. Looks like 1 centimeter taller for Kokuo, 150 to 149 for Yamazaki. So Yamazaki hasn't fought in just over a year. I think she had a knee injury, and she is coming back and basically facing the worst fighter in Japanese women's MMA. This is most likely a gimme fight. Now, Yamazaki is coming off a loss, a win before that, and then a loss in her pro debut. But there's no way I'm going to pick, say, Kokuo against anybody at this point. And if I take an L on this one, calling for Yamazaki to win, then I'll take the L. I'm going to pick, say, no, I'm not going to say that. But yeah, we're going with Momoko Yamazaki on this one. Next up, we're moving back up to a 49 kilogram bout. Pan Hui, better known as Kai in Japan, taking on Sakura Mori. Kai coming in at 5-6. Mori coming in 2-1. Now Kai is coming off of a 4-fight skid here. 4-fight losing streak. That's not a skid, that's a straight up losing streak. She lost to Sohei Lim almost 3 years ago. Then lost to Mika Arai 2.5 years ago. Then Mizuki Furuse a year ago. And then most recently lost a decision to Otoa Nagao 3 months ago. Now Mori, coming off the first loss of her career 3 months ago. Before that was undefeated at 2-0. Let's see. Kai is the elder fighter, 37 years to Mori's 17 years. So another fighter, not even an adult yet. Looks like Mori is slightly taller, 5 feet 3 inches, 160 centimeters to Kai's 5 feet 2 inches, 159 centimeters. This is a true test for both fighters here. Kai is obviously on the downslope. She's not getting any younger. She's 37, and she's lost 4 in a row. She's actually, at sub 500 record at this point. Whereas Mori, her career is just getting started. Took a bump in her last fight, but she's younger by 20 years, and just getting started here. If she wins, this will be by far the biggest win of her career, because before that, her best one was Otoa Nagao, who was 2-1 at the time. Whereas Kai, if she wins, this is almost like basically like a stopgap. in her career. Kai is like a jack of all trades, master of none. If I remember correctly, Sakura Mori is primarily a grappler. This is a tough one to pick because, you know, Kai, like I said, she's just been on such a skid lately. Whereas Mori, or Sakura, she's just getting started. I'm having a hard time picking one here, but I'm going to go with a more experienced fighter here. Should be the stronger fighter as well. And I'm going to go with Kai to win this one. Next up, we go to what is, I guess, the co-main event at flyweight. Yuka Oya being billed as Amoeba, taking on Arai Kuriyama. Now, Amoeba coming in at 9-7, Kuriyama coming in at 1-1, so definite experience advantage to Amoeba. Now, Amoeba, however, is coming in off of 2 straight losses. First up to Yukari Nabe 2 years ago, and then Asami Nakai a year and 7 months ago. So, hasn't been as active lately. Now, Kuriyama coming off a loss to Mika Arai 2.5 months ago. Before that, had a successful pro debut 10 months ago. So, been fighting as a pro for less than a year. Amoeba is the elder fighter by 8 years, 33 to Kuriyama's 25 years. Looks like Kuriyama is going to be the taller fighter, 5 feet 6 inches, 168 centimeters, to Amoeba's 5 feet 3 inches, 159 centimeters. I'm trying to remember what their past fights have looked like. I know I haven't seen Kuriyama fight. I might have seen Amoeba fight, but I don't remember. And honestly, I haven't had time to do the tape study. Yeah, I'm not going to pick a winner in this one. I just don't know. I mean, Amoeba she's coming off of 2 straight losses, a win before that, 2 straight losses to that, and she had a loss to Nori Date and Tomo Maesawa. So, who's the Atomweight champ? Not looking good there for her, but she's also taken on a fighter who's only 1-1. I'm just going to resist making a pick on this one. So finally, this brings us to the main event. Now, this is a special fight for 2 reasons. First up, it is the Atomweight Championship. Also, it is current champion Tomo Maesawa's last fight. She has announced that this is going to be her retirement bout. So let's take a look at it. Maesawa coming in with a record of 13-11. Aono coming in with a record of 6-3. Obviously, big experience advantage to Maesawa. Now, Maesawa is coming off of a loss to Ayaka Hamasaki at Ryzen via armlock submission 2 months ago. Before that, she successfully defended the title against Emi Tomomatsu a year ago. Aono coming off of a win over she wasn't a debutante, but Leon Noda via TKO 3 months ago. Before that, took a loss to Shiyu Park 10 months ago. Let's see. Maesawa is the elder fighter, 32 years to 27 for Aono. I thought Maesawa was older than that. That's kind of surprising to me. Anyway, Aono is going to be the taller fighter by 1 inch, 5 feet even, 152 centimeters, to Maesawa's 4 foot 11 inches, 150 centimeters. I'm going to admit, this is going to be a sad main event for me. You know, I like watching Tomo Maesawa fight. She, I call her Tiny Tenacious Tomo. She's a fighter who is far from great, but is decent enough in every area of the fight. And like I said, she is tenacious. She's one of those fighters who, she's undersized at Atomweight, being 4 foot 11. Yeah, that's undersized even at Atomweight. And she's one of those fighters who finds a way. Definitely stronger, I would say, on the ground than on the feet. She's taken on a very strong wrestler and grappler in Hilary Aono, who, honestly, you look at her and she looks like how you would expect even a lot of dude wrestlers to be built. You know, she's got kind of broad shoulders, thin waist, and then, you know, wide hips and thighs. She's just built like a prototypical wrestler here. Striking, though, not her strong suit. So that could feed into Maesawa, who is a more well-rounded fighter. If I were Maesawa here, I would try to keep this one standard. I think she's excuse me. I think she'll be able to beat Hilary Aono on the feet. Wrestling, or excuse me, on the ground, I think it's largely going to depend on who gets the takedown. If Aono gets the takedowns, it could be a tough night for Tomo. If Tomo gets the takedowns, it could be a long night for Hilary Aono. Now, one thing that definitely lends itself to Tomo Maesawa's favor is the experience advantage here. Over 24 fights to only 9 for Hilary Aono. And the last time that Aono faced a savvy veteran was in Emi Tomomatsu, and she lost via submission. That in a fight that, as I recall correctly, she was largely winning, and then Tomomatsu, the savvy veteran, was able to turn it around and get the submission on Aono, who was largely winning the ground fight as well. So going up against, you know, another well-experienced fighter like Maesawa could be very detrimental to Hilary Aono. I'm going to go with Tomo Maesawa to win this, and I think she'll retire as the Deep Jewels champion. Like I said, it'll be sad because this is going to have some, you know, potentially long-reaching consequences for not only Deep Jewels, but the Atomweight division, Japanese women's MMA, overall. Maesawa is, you know, the only fighter on the Deep Jewels roster at Atomweight who could, you know, make a claim as a top 10 Atomweight. I don't see any other fighters currently signed with Deep Jewels that could make an argument for being in the top 10 right now. I just don't. Even with a 6-3 record, which isn't bad, I have a hard time seeing Hilary Aono being that if she picks up the championship later, or even if she wins. Well, if she wins and beats Maesawa, she could make a claim for top 10. But if not, then no. So yeah, Deep Jewels, their Atomweight division is definitely their showcase division. It's their deepest division. They're really going to be losing a big part of that division with Tomo Maesawa retiring. So it's going to be a pretty sad event. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this coming weekend's Halloween event for Deep Jewels number 30. Now, this fight's going down on pay-per-view. If you go to thedeepjewels.com, and I would recommend using Chrome. It'll translate it to English for you. You should be able to find a link for it. I think it's around roughly $15 US. I'm going to be purchasing it and watching it. I'll have to get up super early to watch it, but I think it's definitely going to be worth watching. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this event in the comments down below. If you like the video, please give it a like, share it as well. That's how the word of the channel spreads. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.